We did not win our last regular season game. It kept us out of the conference championship game, and so we've talked about that basically through the summer, through fall camp, through practices, that we want to be a team that finishes strong. We want to be a team that's able to go on and win conference championships and win a bowl game. That's what we want for the program. So I think you need to, if you want that, you need to address that. And so we have. But in saying that, it still comes back to being able to line up and playing your best football every time you line up, and that's generally taking it one game at a time. And so we see the big picture, but we know what it's going to take to get us there.
Are you guys a little banged up still? The Dantes, for instance, didn't play up at Central last week.
Mm-hmm. Both Dantes should be back. We've got some guys that came out of last week's game that are nursing some injuries and are somewhat questionable at this point. Hopefully that will play out okay, but we'll see.
Any update with Neil? Same deal?
Neil should be able to play some. He's practicing this week. Just how many snaps and how that'll all go, remains to be seen. But we'd like to get him on the field. We'd like to get him some snaps.
Just touch on his impact in the middle of your defense, and a guy that you've been able to get by without, but based on how he started the first 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he was certainly with the top defensive performers in the line in the MAC in terms of how he was performing early in the year, and so we thought that he was just going to have a great season. Is definitely an all-MAC kind of player, and so losing him hurt. Losing Carl at the same time hurt. Got Carl back a few weeks ago. He's kind of rounding himself into more and more playing shape now. Neil, it's going to take a little time to get him in playing shape.
Coach, Bowling Green is similar to Central Michigan in the way that they can throw the ball really well, but they struggle to run. Do you enter this game, similar game plan to what you had going up against Central Michigan on defense?
Definitely stop the run first. If you look at statistics, you see that rushing football teams, for the first 6 teams in rushing offense in our conference, all of those teams have either won 7 or 6 games. You can't find another statistic, whether it's passing efficiency or total defense or total offense or what, that you find that. And so that's not abnormal. I've seen that in the past in years, and so it just emphasizes to me the need to have a ground game and the need to stop the ground game. And if you look at their freshman running back Samuel, I think he's had, I don't know, maybe 130 some carries, but his average is 6.0 a carry. If you have a back that's averaging 6.0 per carry, you're jumping up and down. That's great production. And so their offensive running game has been improving, and I think it's better than what people think.
Another young team. You remember a year where you went through league play and this is going to be the 3rd or 4th team you faced that's been sophomore, freshman dominated. Just talk about that and what kind of advantage you guys seemingly have had with juniors, seniors, red shirts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the 3rd team that's primarily freshman and sophomore makeup.
Mm-hmm. And the way we see it, our young players that really aren't playing now will be very good players in our program also. And so these teams that are playing with young players are playing with really good players. And obviously, you get to this point in the season, and a freshman really isn't a freshman anymore, and a sophomore really isn't a sophomore anymore after playing all they've moved on, and in my mind, they're considered experienced football players. And the real key is where the experience lies at quarterback. And if you look at our conference last year, a lot of inexperienced quarterbacks, not nearly as much offensive production. This year, tremendous offensive production by schools in the MAC, and most of them with very experienced, talented quarterbacks.
Dante Harden obviously checked out pretty early in last week's game. How did that limit your guys' playbook with him not being in there?
Really didn't limit it in terms of plays called. You know, we operated the same. You know, all three of our running backs are capable of being a complete player, and you know, some guys do something a little bit better than the others, but we run our whole offense with any one of the three in there.
You just talking about what his versatility brings to the offense, though, or your team?
Well, you know, Dante's got an excellent, has excellent running ability, and he's tough. I mean, he's much, much tougher and a stronger runner than what his size would indicate to you. He is very productive at getting yards after contact. So you like the combination of a guy that's able to break the big play and be very strong and get yards after contact. And then, you know, in the Temple game, he showed his receiving skills. He's also a good blocker. So I really like what he's all about. You know, he's leading the conference, I believe, in kickoff returns, and so that talent's there. I think we're starting to see the talent that he has much more so this year than ever before in his career. I think he's starting to reach his potential.
You mentioned Samuels. Anything else stick out when you pop in the film on BG?
Well, they're an excellent throwing football team, and their stats indicate that, and so they get a lot of big plays offensively because of that, and they'll line up. You know, they'll do a lot of different things. You know, they'll split out 4 guys to one side away from the center, and they may line them all in a straight line. They may line them up, some on the line of scrimmage, some off, and you know, try to get you with that type of football. And they'll snap the ball very quickly when they're doing those kind of things. So if you're not ready for it, you know, they're going to get you on some plays that will make a big play, keep a first down alive, that will create some things. And they have more things off of that kind of formation than what most teams do. Most teams will line up and they'll do something out of that, and that's it. They'll go on to the rest of their offense. These guys have things off of that, and so, you know, it's an offense that's probably more versatile than some offenses in terms of the formations they line up in and what they try to do out of those formations. Defensively, you know, they're strong up front. They are a tough physical football team up front, and they penetrate. They got corners that can lock you down, so that hurts you in the pass game a little bit. So they've got a good combination of things, and I think that has shown at times during the year. You know, the game against Temple, they matched them physically, and it was a great football team. So, you know, they have the ability to be what you want to be offensively and to be what you want to be defensively. Their punting team, they lead the conference in net punting, which is huge. That's all about field position. They are very, very dangerous and one of the best teams in the MAC in terms of kickoff returns. That, again, accounts for field position. So there's a lot of challenges for us as we enter into this ball game. And knowing that one day less preparation certainly doesn't help.
See, a real mental test then defensively. A lot of things you have to go over.
It'll be a mental and a physical test, yeah, because you know, their upfront people are pretty good. But yeah, a lot of things that that your defense has to prepare for and just take time to build into a practice, where versus a lot of teams you wouldn't need to get into such detail.
Coach LeVon sort of made himself sort of one of the premier receivers in the conference. So this season and in his career, sort of similar to the situation with Mohamed Sanu with Rutgers earlier this year, where opposing defenses are going to look specifically to shut him down. Are you running different looks to try and keep him open, or is that just his athleticism and agility?
I think it's a combination of both. you know, you still, as a receiver, no matter what they're doing coverage-wise, you still have to make the sharp cuts and the ability to have people think you're going one way and then accelerate off of it the other, and then make the great catches. And you know, Levon's excellent at that. So obviously, that's a huge plus. You know, defensively, you know, at times people try to make sure he's not going to get the ball. You know, they will try to adjust their coverages to that. Now, the thing that we do have going for us, I think, is we have very good receivers at the other receiving spots, including the tight end. And when you look at Jordan and you look at Derek, and so it makes it much more difficult for him to zero in on Levon with the other receivers being as good as they are.
Third weekday game in a row, battling, you know, school and football. You notice players maybe being a little tired or just worn down at this point?
Well, I try to put blinders onto that. You know, I hope they're not wore down. You know, we've adjusted our practices the last 3 or 4 weeks to really help them with that, and I think that has been a big help. And you know, we'll continue to do so as we finish this thing off. It gets a little bit more difficult, you know, with the 6 days in between, in that you're really conflicted between wanting to get everything covered and making sure that their legs are there and ready to go. And we've addressed you know, school and classes and not letting everything come down to the very end to where you're trying to get all your assignments in and you're trying to cram for tests, and to try to use the time now to this past week and weeks to get ahead a little bit. And you know, we've had actually a total of 2 hours study time this past weekend, and we're going to do the same thing this weekend, and built in to the pregame. And so you know, it is a concern, though. It definitely is a concern. You know, we'll have some guys that will need to take tests and the day after the game, and we get back at 4:30 in the morning, according to our schedule. So, you know, that's a little rough. That's a little pressing. It's a little tough, but it's what it is. And so you try to see it coming, try to do some things to help, and hopefully it works out.